You go for it.
Well, thank you and welcome to the Rock Valley Museum. A little overwhelming. Thanks to the Rock Valley Library, they did a great job of advertising this. They called and asked about whether or not we give a little presentation on early settlers. I like to buy junk. And I like to buy a lot of junk, and this is all my, food I say out there. But the history side of this is a little relatively new. I didn't like history in college at all. Should have married a history person, but I married a math teacher. So we have two of us, so we're going to struggle through a little bit of the early settlers, but we're going to start with the museum and what I did growing up. My dad just came in, it's Harold and Darlene Wester. Everybody else had introduced themselves, so sorry. But I'll introduce you for them. My mom's dad was Garrett G.G. Vermeer, and he was the president of Valley State Bank here in Rock Valley. My dad married my mom, ended up working at Valley State Bank also. And it kind of kicks off why this all came to be. My grandpa died when I was 5 years old. And when everybody saw something that said Valley State Bank, that was a tie to my grandpa that I no longer had. And so I started buying it. And pretty soon I got sick of, couldn't buy it anymore. And I had one whole display case dedicated to Valley State Bank. So I just started collecting anything with Rock Valley. So got out of college and moved to Okoboji, bought and sold antiques. Kind of support the family a little bit.
That's debatable.
But all along I kept buying and hiding stuff.
In my basement.
Yeah, it got a little out of hand. And this isn't even all of it. That's the problem. We haven't even gotten to the bad part. But so one day I was looking at the big store across the way, Foppy's General Store. And it was kind of the Walmart of Northwest Iowa. It was really something in its day. And that building was for sale at auction sale. And I thought, I'll buy that and I'll put all my wife's basement in there. Went to the auction, was not the successful bidder. I tried every trick of the trade. I bid fast, I bid slow. I skipped the bid once in a while. I couldn't get it bought. So I walked out of that building that day. Felt like I got socked in the stomach because I felt like I owed it to the community to show everybody this stuff instead of just having it in tubs in the basement. And I walked out on the corner on Main Street up there, and Hale Pember was on the corner just standing there and said, "Greg, what'd the building bring?" And I said, "Too much. And by the way, I need your building right now." And Pember Drug had been closed for about 5-6 years. There was nothing in here that was just locked. And so he said, "Come see me in the spring and we'll talk." So that's what we did. We talked and we got it bought, and it was very hard on him. His family, he's a 4th-generation druggist, and they never sold anything. And he tells the story.
Never sold antiques.
Never sold antiques. They sold general merchandise. But if they had leftover merchandise, and Tom would know what leftover merchandise is like, they would just throw it in the basement or set it in the back room. So there's kind of a treasure trove of not just odd things. And so we got it bought. He told the story of his father. So this picture up here is about 1917 about. And we've tried to recreate that picture the best we can. And afterwards you can see the pictures up here of what it looked like when we bought the place and renovated it 9 years ago. We tried to get it done before RAGBRAI, but we had the year of the flood, so we took a couple of weeks off for the flood. But he always said that his dad, which was Paul Pember, and Paul's dad is Hale Pember, Hale Sr., Hale Harvey. He started the drugstore, so it was Hale, Paul, Hale, who I bought the building from, who has a son about my age named Paul. It's a little confusing, but kind of neat. And he tells a story that the mortician in town, Al Porter, was in the back, and there was a clock laying in the back, big wall clock. And his dad, Hale's dad, Paul, said, if you want it, $20, it's yours, take it. So he sold that clock. And the clock went out the front door. Hale went back to his dad and said, if you ever sell another antique out of this building, I will leave Rock Valley and never come back. And Paul listened, never sold another thing. And so we fast forward, Hale sells us the building, and we cover up the windows, we redo the floors. There was so much sand in the grout in the floors, it was unbelievable. We just had to vacuum it out. Actually, Jim Dirksen back here refinished the floor for us. So thank you, Jim.
The pancake maker.
Pancake maker. And we got ready to open. And on the way to opening, you can probably explain what happened when you were painting, so I don't talk the whole time.
I can tell you that. So during the flood, we had to close up and help people in town. And he didn't share that when the flood came to town, we have an old home on 17th Street. So the night of the flood, we had a knock on the door, and they said, you need to evacuate because you were in the flood zone. Well, at this point, we had this place halfway done, and all the stuff was in our basement. So we were like, oh my goodness, we have to save all that stuff. So we did not evacuate our home because it's a 3-story home, and we knew if we were on the 3rd story, there's no way we were gonna drown. But we emptied my basement into my living room and my dining room and my kitchen, which almost sent his wife to the loony bin. But we did save it all, and our home was not affected. It affected the street across from us, but we were fine. But then we had a quick hurry to get this place ready for Ryegrass, so we had like 3 weeks after the flood to get finished. That was our first setback. The second setback was I was kind of arguing. I don't argue with my father-in-law, but we were arguing a little bit about what color to paint that peanut butter color up there. And he said, oh, that's not the original color, Beth, and we argued, and then he left, and I thought, I'm going to quick put some up there and show him that I like it. So I threw a ladder up, and I went up, and I started painting, and my ladder was not set right. So I rode the ladder, and some people say I fell off, and I didn't fall off of it, because I'm a Boyden Hall Comet. I rode it down, and I landed with the ladder on my ankle. So in the midst of it, I broke my ankle on top of all this. And the funny story is Greg came to save me, and the paint had gone up in the air and covered me. So I was covered with peanut butter paint, and he said, can you walk? And I said, I don't think so. So he went to the back room and got me crutches. And so we went, and that was one of the setbacks. Would that be right?
Yeah, that's a setback. And then we brought her, she broke her ankle and had to bring her to the hospital in Sioux Falls. And then I talked to the doctor, they took her off, and I said, how long is this thing going to take? And they said, well, 45 minutes from now. I said, perfect. So I went to Home Depot, and so I had a little bit of shopping time. Well, if you look at these old buildings, there's a better picture back there. There's like 2 light bulbs in this building. This was all windows originally, so they were never open at night. So I went to Home Depot and bought all these light fixtures while Beth was having surgery. And I filled 3 shopping carts, and the gal says, you've got a big house. I said, no, I got a museum. But it's really quite cool because the lights match. A lot of people come in here, they think, well, you've got the original lights. The little leaf work on there matches the leaf work on here. So it's kind of just a weird thing, but yeah, that was.
When we talk about that they threw nothing away, I just like to point out some things. Like there was a drop ceiling in here, as you can probably tell in this picture. But like those metal pieces up there, there was a ceiling fan that came through there. They kept those little tiny pieces of the metal ceiling that were in the back room. This railing was taken out. and piled in the back room. And it was fun finding it all and putting it all back up as it is. Greg did share the story of the clock, though we got sidetracked. But the clock, Greg went and talked to our friend Rick Porter and said, "You wouldn't happen to have an old clock that your dad got from Hill Pember back in the day?" He said, "Yep." And so when we opened the door, the clock was back in its original position, as you can see on the picture, Greg, if you can point it out. But and the first thing Hale said when he came in the door, he smiled because he said, "Man, I wish I could have done this because I wanted it to look like this." And then he said, "Oh, you got my clock back." So that was kind of a fun story too. And then tell them about the die cut.
Yeah, so there's actually, if you go outside, there's 2 windows upstairs, and there's an attic up here. And you can see 2 wing nuts, and that drops down. There's a staircase, a hidden staircase. It drops down like a wooden box, the same wooden box that's in this picture right here. And going up there, all the die cuts up on the top, and those advertisements were just littered on the floor. And people had walked over them for years and years and years, and they were sooted, really black, and they were, there was a fire next door, and I think some of the smoke got in and made them pretty black. But we did get as many as we could, and then we did try to clean them. I don't know if you want to show that, or it's...
Just explain that.
Yeah,
The trick to cleaning old cardboard.
So this is kind of what they look like. I'll touch it quick. But this is what they look like. They were just, really dirty from dirt, and, probably should have, but they're 1920s, 1930s. So we did the old antique trick to clean paper. Anybody know how to clean paper? Bread, yeah. Slice of bread.
Slice of white
So
bread.
we went through 13 loaves of bread. I don't have a Bible lesson tonight, but we went through 13 loaves of bread. And again, pancake maker helped us, and my parents helped us. But we cleaned most all of them. And it's magic how that...
My favorites
cleans
are
up.
behind you, if you can see, like the Wrigley Spearmint
Yeah.
Gum and the Mentholatum. So it was a treasure chest of finding those in the soot, because they were just piled, and we just pull one out and open them and go, "We got a good one," And so that was like a treasure trove.
Yeah. And then my daughter was helping one night, and she kind of explained, I found it. And I see, what?
You're like,
And
"You
we're
found
who? And again, she blew these up for me. She's pretty creative and can do that. We took these off of postcards, but they're quite clear. And she found this guy. And this 1 spoon of Adolica relieves sour stomach gas or constipation immediately. Not tomorrow, not in 3 hours. Immediately. Well, she found him, and you have to kind of use your imagination a little bit, but this is Harvey Hale Pember here, the original founder. This is a DeBryant, who was a clerk behind the soda fountain, and this is just a traveling cigar salesman. But behind the cigar salesman is a die cut of that guy right there. So we basically have brought him back down here after all those years. And that's what we're getting kind of a kick out of stuff. As we find things, just a random little picture that I found these are all glass cupboards up there too. And if you look on here again, you can see that these are on the back bar up on the top. So that's what I get a kick out of, is that after that many years, we're still finding stuff that comes back home, and it's back where it belongs. So they used to sell dolls up here. These were all the dolls. And I think the clerks would just hustle up the steps and go pick up the doll for the kid. And there's some talcum powders here, and there's like 5 or 6 of them. That's H.H. Pember, Rock Valley, Iowa, marked. So it's kind of neat. Drugs.
Let's tell them we found drugs.
Yeah, so there's a little smell in the basement, but a lot of the original powdered drugs that they made drugs from and paints from are still in the back hallways. And we kind of like, the Titanic, when you have something old like this, Yeah, we've got one, so just roll on. We like to leave it the best we can and not modernize it too much. So behind here, and we've got some displayed, and that whole area back there, after we're done, that's pretty much the stuff that we found in this museum, or in the drugstore. And, some of it, yeah, not all of it.
But lots of drugs still in the glass.
Yeah, and the bottles,
Glass
you'll see
bottles.
those back there, and they just mixed them, so. Yeah, there's still a piece, if you're on the floor, whoever's sitting over there, there is a piece that I didn't take off. I just left it there, so that's exactly where she fell. So, yeah. So that's good.
I didn't know if you wanted to share a few of your favorite pieces or not.
Yeah, and it doesn't do justice to the items that I've bought over the years. There was a museum in Alcester that I talked to that gentleman, the Swenson Car Museum, and he always explained to me, I always told him I was going to have a museum, he says, it's probably best to try to own it all yourself, control the destiny of the items. So many times, cities will have museums, they'll have a board of 5 or 6 people, well those 5 or 6 people will pass away, and then they stash the stuff in odd places, and it either gets, I know the Sioux Center, a lot of it's stored out at the Sioux Center Fairgrounds. Well, the fairgrounds weren't very nice, and then they got weather damage, and they ended up throwing everything away. So I've kind of taken it on my own, and kind of as a thank you to Rock Valley for being good to me and my family over the generations, to just make sure that I keep it climate controlled, I heat it, cool it, and so yeah, and I still, to this day, have random people coming to me. I really don't want your grandmother's wedding dress, but because it doesn't, I want the stuff tying to Rock Valley. I want it to say Rock Valley. I want it to be historically significant to the community. So I'm a little picky on what I'm taking now, but it's surprising. Valley Pharmacy, the pharmacy across the way, had a great big sign on those wooden shakes, and Del Noblock just was going to throw it away on citywide dump days and says, "You want the sign?" I go, "Yeah, I'll take the sign." So now someday I'll have an annex to this over at the antique locker. So.
Can I share just a few? I just have a few favorites. That one of them is we were donated a Purple Heart from the Van Beek family, and I think that's a really cool. That was a donation to you. But so if you're interested in the history behind that, there was a good article in the paper by Kelly on that, and that's one of my favorites. The funny one is on the back wall back there, we found in the bottom of the Q, which was the bar in town, the sign above Conoco that says, "Do not stand up while the room is in motion." I love that one. The penny scale is an original to Pembroke Drug, and if you're grammatically offended by it, I am as well. It says, "Did you weigh yourself today?" And that drives me nuts, but it still works. When Hale came in the first time, he said, "I was just at the doctor today and I weighed 172 pounds," and then he stepped on there and he weighed exactly the same as that. So that's kind of a cool one. There's an ice saw in the back that was used to cut ice out of the pond, and we hear wives' tales that they would cut that ice, and then if you took it to your barn and covered it with hay or sawdust, it would last till the 4th of July, and that blows my mind. What other ones did I think were cool? Right on his notes.
Rorta tire.
Oh, the Rorta tire. I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, in the window is the Rorta tire. Most Rock Valleyans know the Rorta family and Hessel Sr., their involvement with the building that's getting redone now, Rorta Implement, and the Rorta family, Hess's dad, patented and basically was the first person to put air tires, pneumatic tires, on a tractor. And he took these tires, these were truck tires, and he'd go to the salvage yards and buy these old truck tires, and they were like a 16-spoke wood tire, and he would put a plate on there, and it has the history back there. Goodyear Tires actually, mentions Rorta, and because they didn't do it until like 1932, and he did it in 1923, and so it's kind of a neat story. And there's a couple of the tires floating around left, but there's not many left. So the Rorta family got that in here. It's kind of a big thing to load around, so
It's heavy.
it's not moving. It's kind of on a spot. Anything else before we go into the other? I think we hit most of the.
Did we hit the rest?
I think so.
There's lots. We could talk for days.
Yeah, you can't do justice for all the little things in here, but I wish I could touch on all the different families that are represented here, because I probably have something of those families kind of hidden back here, but it's just, as we get done and you mill around, you can sure grab me and ask questions.
I think the
of
wallpaper's
children. Yeah, they used to sell wallpaper in here in the 1920s. The drugstores sold veterinary supplies and even wallpaper. So in the back on the top up there, there's racks, and that's still full of wallpaper. So it's
So like we said, when they got done with something, they just didn't
So I think I'm gonna hold that.
get rid of it.
So yeah, it's a little brittly now, but there's just rolls of it up there.
Just rolls and rolls, so they're all full up there. But yeah, that's pretty funny.
Come from here.
Isn't that pretty?
Yeah, it's kind of coming back. It's 100 years old. I think the catalog is up there from 1923. The big back bar, it's been here ever since the beginning, and I think,
We wish we had this. I mean,
the soda fountain, that was scrapped out during the war effort. They needed metal, and this was all metal behind here. I still have the pieces of marble, but that was taken out. And this piece right here would be the piece if Greg could afford and he could find. But that's probably a $15,000 deal now today. So, and it's just difficult. This old Victrolas back then also, and there's a couple Victrolas up the back that were always in here that Haley used for display. And then there's several pieces in here, like this match display, this match thing for a penny. You can get a book of matches. That's in there. The cash register, the original cash register. Let me read the Pember family quick. Yeah, the drugstore actually moved a little bit. Hale came here in 1894. He bought this building in February 28th, the same day his daughter Marie was born. And for 9 years he operated out of this store, but then he decided to be a farmer. So he left to be a farmer. That took 2 years before he realized he had to come back to be a druggist. So he sold the store to John Schemmer. And then after 2 years on the farm, moved back to town. Another building was available. We purchased that. And then once again, there was a Pember drugstore in town. And then 1 year later, Hale was able to rebuy this building. So there is paint in the basement, so I think it was a hardware store for a little while. And And another little Pember, after Hale came in, we had that Pember drug sign up there, and that's a glass front, wood framed tin top that sat just, stuck out of the window. And he came in and he says, "Oh, that's kind of neat. You had that made up, huh?" I go, "No, that was in the basement." He never saw it. He goes, "No, that's not in the basement." "Yeah, it was in the basement." So it was, and even his kids weren't allowed to go upstairs for years. So it was a neat treasure trove.
Now you move on. I'm a school teacher, so I'm going to keep it moving here.
Okay, so I'm going to start, now that's kind of about the museum. Anybody, quick question, otherwise I'll just press on.
Was this thing in the store originally?
Yes,
Right in the picture.
yeah, it's right
Can you
here.
see it in the picture?
Oh, sure.
Yep, yeah, it's still there, and I think they might have had some other things there before 1917. I think this would have been probably put in this 1917 era. That's why they probably took the picture.
And tell them what was original and I mean, everything was original. The glass cases, they're all original.
Yeah, the cases, they took off, you know, and they removed all the glass windows and doors and put those in the basement because they were sick of, well, you'll admit this, they're sick of cleaning them. Kids were coming in and touching them and had to polish them. And at one point, they decided to paint the top ones, which, you know, and that's lead-based paint, so I can't strip it off. I had to scratch it off with a razor blade. But if Beth does one window a month, she'll do it. But interesting enough for the woodworkers in here, every case, so we start putting these windows in, and this one would fit, that one wouldn't fit, and then my dad figured out that every case was marked with a Roman numeral. And each window or door had a Roman numeral. Not the same place either. They weren't smart enough to just put it in the left corner of every one. Just randomly somewhere around the outside. So this is showcase 1, goes all the way through, and ends up with 18 or 19, whatever it ends up with. It took us a day to figure that out and moving them around. But
And I didn't break any when I wrote my letter.
Wow.
It did go through my mind, though, as I was writing.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's good. Okay.
So now he wants to share a little bit.
So this is the history part of
Maybe
the
tell
lesson.
them where we found the history.
Yeah, so we've got a few books that we stole things from. The great big book down there is the 1908 Atlas of Sioux County. And yeah, over the years I've been buying some of those. I actually sold one to Cedar Rock and I used it for wallpaper in the bathroom. So if you go to the bathroom at Cedar Rock, you'll see parts of those 1908 catalogs. And then we also use those 3 there. And the orange book everybody kind of sees, but it has some great history. And then you've got the 1955 book of the 75 years. And then I did find, this is from the Dixon family, which I give credit to the McGill family, when they were cleaning out their family's house. This is pretty rare. I did see one on eBay recently, so they are out there. But this is a 1916, and it's the best trading town around for miles around. So that we can grab some stuff out of there. So
That's where we're
because I don't know.
footnoting right now.
Yeah, I'm 3rd generation banker in Rock Valley, but this is a lot older than all of us, so it gets a little. But it's kind of neat. It's kind of fun. So I'm just going to read a little bit here quick. Northwest Sioux County received the first ripple of the wave of homestead immigration in the county because of the distance from a railroad and because of the Rock and Sioux rivers in this area. In this vicinity, being beyond the 20-mile limit of a railroad land, the pioneer could secure 160-acre homesteads instead of the 80-acre ones. So people know more than I do, but back in the day, when you homesteaded, there was an 80-acre parcel, but the next 80-acre was set aside for the railroad. And it went all around the country that way, and that's how it went. Until the railroad decided where they're going to put the railroad. Once the railroad went in, then you had first dibs on buying that rest of that farm, that 80 acres, to make your full 160. The trees along the 2 rivers provided fuel and building materials. Most of the cabins erected in this section were made of cottonwood, while those cabins in the eastern part of the county were less substantial, being made of sod and some lumber, but mostly sod. Because Plato Township was further from the rivers, and that's south. I can kind of get a map here. I'm going to allude to some of these things, so here, hold this.
I couldn't get
I'm
away.
just going to put it.
There you go.
Point out Plato.
I can't.
Oh.
I can turn a letter, but
Oh, I don't have Plato on there. That's the other book. So anyway, it's south of town.
Plato's right around
Carmel.
Carmel is around Plato, yeah.
I'm Plato, but I'm not from.
Oh yeah, so it's
That area.
yeah, it's south of Rock Valley. It was further from the river. Even so, settlers had to depend on the Rock River for their fuel, which by that time was nothing but stumps of trees, which had been cut down by the earlier homesteaders. Sometimes there was quarrels between the settlers of those sections, as the Westerners did not like the Easterners taking their fuel supply. So it's kind of like, we're Eastern, and then you get to South Dakota and they're Westerners. And, we had the same thing in the county back then. The first homesteads in what is now Rock Township, which is Rock Valley, were taken in the early part of the year of 1868 by John and Ira S. Wilson. father and son on section 30, 1.5 miles southwest of Rock Valley.
So Beth made a little something here. Huh? I'm just going to put it up here.
Okay. As you're going through that,
This? Yeah. There we go.
Okay. In the same year, 1868, that was 1868, section 30. In the same year, Reverend John Runyon and his sons, William and John Jr., took claims in Rock Township, section 22, northwest of Rock Valley. William and John Jr. wintered in Dune during the winter of 68 and 69, later being joined by their father and family. They settled on their claims in 1869. William was a surveyor and located many of the subsequent settlers in northwest Sioux County. Reverend Runyon probably held the first religious services in Rock Township. He was of the Methodist denomination. The first claim in Sioux Township was in 1866, made by the Bellisfield family. The Sioux County history book states that previous to 1870, the population of Sioux County did not exceed 50 people. They were the residents of Hayward and 3 homesteaders, the Bellisfields, the Wilsons, and the Runyons. Beginning of the year of 1870, the influx of settlers in northwest Sioux County began to grow and grow. 2 homesteaders coming to Rock Township at this time were John Sorg and Sam Markle, who became early postmen in the area. And the Rock Valley area, like all Northwest, suffered severely from loss of population during what is known as the grasshopper period from 1873 to 1877. These consecutive years of crop loss tried the souls of pioneers and caused some of them to abandon their homes for other locations. There was a great bargain in land due to the plague. Maybe I'll read it later. Uh-oh. The years from 1884 to 1890 were boom years for northwest Sioux County. The land being rapidly settled. Dr. Plume, Rock Valley physician, on one occasion south of Rock Valley, counted no less than 12 teams breaking prairie, all in sight at one time. And interestingly, if you have, Rock Valley was donated a plow years ago. It's in the Bicentennial Park across from the Methodist Church. An old breaking plow, a lot of Sioux County history connected to it, became the property of the City of Rock Valley. This is in 1976. The plow, which is believed to be about 90 years old, was given to the city from one of its residents, Fritz Junker. According to Junker, the plow originally belonged to Alex Miller, who, along with his 4 brothers, was among the early settlers in Garfield Township. Alex and his brothers Fred, Lou, L.E.W., John, and Rude were responsible for breaking about 3 sections of ground southwest of Rock Valley, and this is the old Emerson sod breaker that they used to do it. With a plow like this, you could break about 3 acres a day. My father told me that he received $2 an acre for breaking sod. That's all he did all summer. The plow, mainly of an oak beam and steel, was purchased by Junker at a farm sale in 1968 for $45. I just bought it in remembrance of the Millers, who are my mother's brothers. So it's kind of cool. And that's it. I think it's sitting up on a pole. I didn't go by it today to verify, because the city once in a while they had a tire too of Rorty's, and we don't know where that went. A wheel, but
So
back to whiteboard. You want to go through the rest of this?
it's just the names
of the earth. In one of the books, I just thought it was kind of fun to,
You can show where the sections were.
Yeah.
is that on here? So, spring of 1868 was our first homestead, and that was to John and his son Ira
Section 30. So that's
Wilson, I believe. Got Grace.
that'd be
So section 30 was the first one. So
so that'd be like Willard Wissink's area. That whole it'd be just a little bit out of town.
So that same year, William Brewington and his 2 sons settled section 18. Oh no, sorry, Reverend John Runyon was section 22.
Yeah, 22 would be it'd be like where the hotel is today. The new hotel, the diagonal road going out to Dune. That's section 22.
And then back to William Brewington's in 1869, he settled section 18.
18 is just northwest of town. So Campground Road, Cal Baker, north of that, Randy Blankus Four. It's an older map, maybe Huckster doesn't live anymore.
And then it said in one of the books that in 1870 there was a large influx of settlers, and a lot of them landed in section 36.
Yeah, which that's a little surprising because that's down over here. That'd be Kurt Vanderschaft, Alan Holder, Liebengrau area, Darrell McMahon. So that's that 36, which is a little bit further out of
There was
town.
a lot of them, so just to give them credit, it was a Tucker, a Langford, a Sullivan, a Quinlan, Griffin, Stickney, Blood, and then a couple of Taylors. That same year, section 14 was settled by Chas Klein.
And that's just north or northeast of on the way to Dune. So Dave DeWitt, Paul Katz area, Dave Katz, you can't even.
Is that relation to you guys? That one's not. Okay. Then there were others that they had in there too. There was a Messner, a Sorg. Somebody said Sorg, I believe. Was there somebody that said they were related to that name? Thought I heard that. An Oakland, a Loxfold, and a Markle. And then we get to the one, probably when I think of Rock Valley, I think of A.J. Warren. And A.J. Warren, of course, was the Warren Cafe, but he's who actually platted. Yeah. He actually platted the town of Rock Valley. So this is an actual drawing by Landheis, who was a famous painter.
Yeah, this is the picture of Abram Warren, and it, this is the Landheis depiction. So Landheis, Jan Landheis was a painter here in Rock Valley, he was a barber, and over the years he was a tremendous, and it's really, and I was in the 80s, I was in high school, they had an auction in town, they sold all of his works of art, they all left Rock Valley, except a few. This one went to the city office, and they kept that, and then the city office said, here, let's bring it to the museum. But over the years, I think I've got 14 or 15 of them. So
What happened to Dr. Haig's picture that was in the hospital?
I think that's back here.
That is supposedly Dr. Haig and his wife in the boat. Right?
Yeah, that one there is Horace Haig and his wife.
They also had their ones in the roller skaters.
Yeah, and there was a girl on roller skates going down Main Street. That was the best one. And we think that was in an antique shop in Sioux Falls that burned down. So we don't think that one
It
survived.
used to be in the hospital.
Yeah,
basement
it
in the
hung
laundry.
here.
Oh, yeah.
Where the
It
lady
was
was in the laundry because
creepy.
they thought it was kind of racy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think the
Is it
hospital...
still there, Donna?
I don't know.
No, the hospital received originally like 20 works of art. And when I got to my golf partner, Glenn Zavenbergen, and they were going through things, there was only like 3 left. And so we don't know.
I remember that
too, yeah.
very well.
So that's cool.
So, do you want me to read about H.M. Warren?
Girl with the big dress. And every now and then he'd say, come over, but don't tell your mom. And he just came to me.
Oh, yeah.
So in one of those books, we found just some, what I found to be interesting stories about families. So we're going to just share a few of the early settlers' family stories. This one was written by Eloise Warren Shaler now, and she was the daughter of A.J. Warren. And this is just some of her words. His business was always buying and selling land, and my mother would always say they were land poor. Sometimes my banker husband says we're cash poor, so I kind of relate to that. He had a great deal of pride in the platting of the town, planting of the trees, and building of the early day stores. For some time we lived over one of those stores, and as always, he built, rented, and sold stores and houses, including the Warren Hotel. One of my earliest recollections as a youngster was before Rock Valley had a water system, and the need of water to preserve the newly planted trees was so great, I would see him in a horse-drawn wagon with barrels of water watering each individual tree. During this period, the building of businesses on the main street was going on. And I thought this was interesting. Sites without cost for the building of schools and churches were freely given. So those were given to the schools.
So then, talk about Carter. Is he on there?
You see a Carter on there? No.
Okay, we'll go through the rest of those first.
How far did you get? We got to the town of Rock Valley Flag, you our first building. Well, of course, the first building had to be a saloon. On the corner of 13th and Main by Black Blau. The first house was Dr. D.O. Plume. The first schoolhouse was center of Section 8, and then his wife was a teacher.
The first mayor in Rock Valley was...
Oh, yeah. So the Carter family, October 1888, Charles Wesley Carter brought his family to live in Rock Valley. Mr. Carter was the first mayor of Rock Valley. From the old records, he apparently engineered the incorporation of the town. So, open that back door of that little case, hard right. So this is the incorporated paperwork that he filed for the city. So it's C.W. Carter on the bottom, the plaintiff, the attorney. So these are the incorporated documents of the city. So we've got those next to the Purple Heart. So great. Those are good. Yeah.
The bridge west of town is known as Carter's Bridge.
Oh, it could easily be. Yeah, he owned a lot of stuff.
We was called it Carter's Bridge.
Oh, yeah.
And the house that Sparky and I lived in for over 40 years was built by Judge Carter.
Oh, yeah.
1880 something like that.
Yeah, I think originally he had owned part of the lumber yard. He helped start Farmers Lumber. So I had a piece of wood. It's somewhere in here. Carter Firks was the lumber yard back then. So
he had some fun stories by one of his children.
yeah, he served as a member of the state legislative from Sioux County for 2 terms in 1900 and 1902. In an early day, he was one of the group of citizens who was interested in the racetrack, which was located on the west side of Main Street at the north edge of town. Horse races were held there each summer for many years and drew big crowds from the surrounding territory. So we don't have racetrack, but we got tractor pull. So that's good. He was one of a group of businessmen that decided that Rock River was navigable. And they bought a steamboat, which they called the Rock Valley, which could carry about 50 passengers. And the Rock Valley, there's been some stories about it. The Dune Press always has this neat little picture of the Rock Valley steamship going down the river. But it's a fake picture that I think Harold Artem just cut out and glued on top of the river. Because it's like,
We've never found
so I cannot find a picture of the Rock Valley, the original Rock Valley. It was sold later to Spirit Lake, East Lake, Okoboji, and then it was used there for years, and then it was sold to Wall Lake, Iowa. But I've never found a picture of it. And I've got a lot of postcards, a lot of steamboats in Okoboji. But this one, rides were sometimes halted by a sandbar, and then the entire group had to be put ashore until the men could get the boat into deep water again. Here it says Mr. Carter helped organize the Farmers Lumber Company, the Rock Valley Fair Association, whose grounds are now the lovely City Park. So where our new shelter house is going in City Park, that was the fairgrounds. So there was a big track around that, and that was in that book down there, a picture of a drawing of it.
I was surprised that you did not know about Eagles Point.
No, yeah, Eagles Point, yeah.
Yeah, that's where the mill is right now, the foundation is.
Yeah, just north of town. And that's where they had celebrations and stuff like that. Yeah, that's,
Did Dune get another boat then, and they called it the Bonnie Dune?
that's
That
the
rolled-
train.
Oh, that's the train.
That's the train.
Oh, okay.
Yep, the Bonnie Dune was the train. That it was a smaller train that they had called the Bonnie Dune. And there's Also, people trying to find pictures. Harold Artem was one of those people trying to find a picture of the Bonnie Doon. And I've got a lot of pictures of railroads, of trains and engines in northwest Iowa, but I don't know if I have it or not. I don't know the number of the Bonnie Doon. All the engines had a number on it, and there were some really nice pictures taken of some bad wrecks that these trains fell off of bridges and stuff. But
What about the train they used to put in Hudson?
yeah, so the Hudson Spur, they had that train that came, and I've got a great article about that railroad, but they abandoned that railroad from Rock Valley to Hudson. It was supposed to go all the way to Vermilion, and they stopped at some point. And now if it was a war effort, they don't know why it was abandoned, but it stopped, and now you still have remnants of that coming back through those acres from Hudson back to Rock Valley. And I think it's on the maps, on that map, or on one of the plat books I have. It shows the Hudson Spur. But there was a guy out east that was doing a story, and we were featured in a magazine and did a bunch of history on it, but we never found out why it was abandoned. I'm sure it was financial, but I don't think I got anything else.
So these are just a...
Yeah, and there's families galore in these books, and if you need these books, they're available, all except for the little one in the Rock Valley Library. Okay. Yeah, in December of 1880, Samuel Belsfield moved into Rock Valley. He started a house moving business and was widely known as the pioneer house mover. And this is stuff that I just found out today, because I just, I'm a true cram until the last minute. Now I have to study for my test until I'm ready. And then I go, I think I got a picture of that. So this is a picture of Samuel Belsfield, the pioneer house mover, his business card, phone 82, and he's moving a granary, it looks like, right through the river. So, yeah, so you can pass that around.
Green elevator.
Yeah. You didn't have to worry about electric lines.
Yes.
She just said they moved ferries from one side of the river.
Yeah, I think, Fairview moved. I think Hudson moved. Hudson was called Eden, and that was further south, and they moved it. And then Fairview, they moved Fairview because of the river. Chas Klein family listed on there, and their oldest children came from Wisconsin. They settled in Sioux County on a farm 3 miles east, 1 mile north of Rock Valley. Later they cut logs along the Rock and Sioux rivers from which they built log cabins. When the streets in Rock Valley were laid out, Mr. Klein was one of the men who helped because he could plow so straight. He used a team of oxen and breaking plow with a wooden beam, which he had brought with him from Wisconsin. So I'm sure it's similar to the one that's up on the thing again. William Richter family, among the early settlers, came in as newlyweds, Mr. and Mrs., in 1879. They were accompanied by Mrs. Richter's father, mother, brother, and first lived in a log cabin 2 miles west and 1 north of Rock Valley, where the eldest children were born. I'm pretty sure that's the Davalar acreage with the pine tree driveway. That was where Rick Richter
Which
was.
she's a Richter.
Yeah. They were one of the 13 families which formed the nucleus of the St. Mary's Catholic Parish in 1881. And I think a lot of the Catholic gals, there's a little quilting or little needlework thing here that you have I'm told, a quilting party similar to your scrapbooking today. But then when you're done scrapping or when you're done quilting, everybody would quilt their name on this little pillow sham. So, but there again, you have some relatives to the McGills. You got Alona Norris and a Lizzie McGill, and this is dated 1901. So it's, and again, it wasn't. I'm pretty sure this didn't come from the McGill family. I got this for a long, long time, and it's just stuff that, as I go through auctions and things, it's just caught my eye, and I go, oh, this looks like Rock Valley people, so I kept it. And now all of a sudden, if I would have been good in history, I would have been excited earlier. So I'm just figuring out that I've got some things. Yep.
First baptism was recorded at St. Mary's for 1878.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they're all still handwritten by the priest that did them.
Oh yeah. Very cool. Then Foppy, we can't finish a conversation in Rock Valley without John B. Foppy. His first store was in a wooden building where this building was. So Foppy originally built on this site. It was a wooden building and occupied until Pember bought it. And then he built the store across the street, the big one, 1902. I think it probably says it on top of the building, so I don't know what that. And that ran until 1955. And Foppy's, over here we've got a Foppy's. I got up above Foppy's. It was a roller rink later in life. Mom remembered going in there. I got in there and dealt with Hein Kosters, who owned the building at the time. And there was some stuff up there, and there was an old...
This is one of my favorites.
It was the gal's boots, the gal's shoes, you know, those high shoes, and there's rivets on there that you strapped. Well, that machine put the rivets for the ladies' shoes on the leather shoe. You just kind of punch it. It was kind of a neat deal. But there again, that's really true Rock Valley history. You know, it's never, you know,
It still works.
It takes a long time to find another one. It's just a lot of stuff just got tossed because who would keep it? Except Greg. Thank you, Beth.
I think that was it.
That's it on there.
I find these fun.
Yeah, these are pretty good. So these are January of 1883. We're going to go back to the Rock Valley Bee, which was originally called the Sioux County Bee. And so a few little quick things. The ice, which is being cut on the mill pond, and the mill pond I would call Willie Wissing's pond, up in front of Willie Wissing's. The ice saw that was used on there was in his barn for years. That's on the floor back there, a horse-drawn saw. Very best quality produced anywhere. And Rock Valley is becoming famous for its crystal clear ice. C.W. Carter wants to buy 25 hogs and 1,000 bushels of corn. He also has a farm of 240 acres for rent for $2.25 an acre. So, these are all 1892. This is 1892. So cash rent was $2.25. $2.25. Yeah. And he probably lost money. Who knows? A large commodus barn is being erected in the rear of the Holland Church. I don't know my Holland Church versus Miller's Reformed Church, but I think it's the Holland Church. And they built a building for accommodation of those attending church. It'll hold from 40 to 50 teams. It is a good move. So, if I live next to Miller's Reformed, there's a lot of parking. They bring in a lot. So, it was the same thing back in 1892. Good move. Word was received from Canton this week that the steamer of the Rock Valley will be here next Monday. Outside towns are invited to come and enjoy a trip in the silvery waters. Silvery waters of the Rock River. Yeah, pretty creative. The steamer of Rock Valley will make regular excursions, pleasant every Sunday afternoons, leaving the dock each hour. So it's just a quick little tour.
I think this one's fun because Rock Valley is known for good wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay, the wrestling match. This is still in 1892. The wrestling match, which was to have taken place last Saturday, did not materialize as one of the parties failed to appear. The money that was put up and turned over by Doc Ellis, the stakeholder, and forfeited. Doc Ellis says he's willing to back his man, though, Chas Johnson of Dune Township, versus anyone in this vicinity for a match. Catch as you can, best 2 and 3 falls. A match will probably be arranged soon with a party from Hayward. So rumor was there was a guy in Hayward that was pretty good. J.H. Teller challenges anyone in Sioux County and will back $50 to back it up to beat his record. Last Friday on the Kent Place, a mile northwest of town, he threshed 56 bushels of flax in 30 minutes. Wenzel Stransky timed him, and the time is correct. And then the new brick block, known as the Warren Block, was on last Friday turned over to the owners of the contractor. So that would be the hotel. And there was something in here about the windows and doors took longer to get, so it wasn't very attractive when it was finished. But it took a little bit longer to get that.
This is out of that little white book we found interesting.
Oh yeah, this is out of the little 1916 book, so this one hasn't been redone. And there was the people that know enough about how these things all work and how there was a big Dutch contingency that left Pella, then came to, we're going to go to Storm Lake. They got there, it was all sold. They went to Cherokee, liked it. They went back to Pella to talk to people and get investors. They came back, went to Sioux City, the land office at the time, and said, yeah, we want to buy where Cherokee is. And they said, yeah, it's for sale, but someone got word that the Dutch were coming, and they bought it all, and they marked it up. And they said, well, that's no good. So that's how they moved and came further west and north and found Sioux County, which had better land. So this is 1916. While a large percentage of the smaller towns of Iowa are standing still or declining, Rock Valley, located in the Milwaukee between Canton and Sheldon, has continued to grow. This is due to a number of important facts, among which we are willing to place at the head. The statement that the businessmen and the farmers are of the right caliber. In Rock Valley, you will find enterprising merchants in almost every line and surrounding Rock Valley. The agricultural garden spot of the world are thrifty. They're scientific farmers, perhaps largely of the sturdy Holland element. Another important reason why the population of the community has not become depleted is because of the fact that so many who move away afterwards move back again, claiming there's no state, just like Iowa, no county the equal of Sioux, nor any town so satisfactory as Rock Valley. So, which is, I want to say, is still kind of true today. It's lived and it's gone. A standing credit is due to the late Colonel A.J. Warren, who displayed such excellent judgment in laying out the town by providing extra wide streets and abundance of shade. The little city under 1,500 population, which I was shocked in 1916 that it had 1,500 here, with wide, clean, and especially well-shaded streets, is charming, located in a beautiful valley bordering on the winding Rock River, a considerable stream tributary to the Big Sioux. Leading from the valley are splendid highways rising over the hills, commanding glorious views of the steeple-pointed village and exquisite valley. The farmland is rolling, highly fertile, and demands prices from $200 per acre upwards. The prosperous farm buildings frequently will substantial residences and monuments of thrift and plenty. Nearly every farm with a phone.
Every farm has a phone, a rural mailbox.
Yeah, a rural mailbox and an automobile. Many of the places bear attractive and appropriate names, and these are the farms: Valley View, Morningside, 2 words, Strathmore, Robindale, Bluegrass, Sunnyside, Maple Hill, Brookside, Rosebriar, Shady Dale. Shady Dale, that's not, or Dale, that's not yours.
You're not shady.
That's like Dry Creek. There's lots of more that came later.
There's a rumor that where Doc Jesperson used to live, a half mile down, there was a crossing for wagon trains. Supposedly Jesse James crossed there.
Yeah, and we didn't find where he crossed, but the Bellingfeld lady, Bellisfield, served him lunch. So, yeah, on a couple occasions. And they paid, and so they were in the area. Yeah, there was a couple of ways for that. Oh yeah, then the roller mills right to the mill here. The roller mill, Rounds Kettles Milling Company, operated a very successful milling business. The only one in the county enjoying prosperity. Their flour is surpassed by none and is all that the name of their leading brand implies. Rowntree's Best is obvious from the fact that this mill supplies almost every sack of flour consumed locally. So that's one of the Rock Valley Mill sacks. It's got Rounds Kettle Milling Company on it. Kind of neat. And and then there's a cookbook too. And this took me a while to find one of these. This is a Rounds Kettles Milling Company cookbook. So my wife doesn't cook, otherwise she can order pizza from the pizza ranch. And the mill whistle was a deep ocean foghorn effect. Blows with unvarying regularity and sets the farmer's timepieces for miles around. So there was a whistle that was like a deep foghorn.
How was it? You're regular and had them set their...
Yeah, irregular.
Unvarying regularity.
Oh, unvarying.
Yeah,
You got it.
The hotel, the Warren Hotel, is a popular house with the discriminating traveling public, as well as offering a comfortable home for the several bachelor boarders and bevy of school teachers. It doesn't. Sunday dinners at the hotel at the Warren are an established feature.
This is still from 1916.
Yeah, this is all from the 1916 book. And the Warren Hotel, that dresser commode over there with the mirror, that was from, what's that? Yeah, Marjorie Burkham had one. Buckley. It was a Buckley. Marie Buckley. And it was painted white, really ugly dresser. But I knew the story that it came from there. And then Bob Vanderweer, the IPS guy, north or south of town, he scratched off all the white paint and refinished it for me. And the Buckley name is actually on the drawer. But that was one of probably 40 or 50 dressers in that hotel. And the odd thing is that if you look at the dresser and you look at how it's made, it was made in 1880 to 1885. Well, we didn't have the hotel until later. So even Warren was Dutch and bought used. used furniture. So that's just how it was. I can't finish the night without the bankers. Being a banker myself, the State Bank in 1916 now occupies its very modern Bedford stone building, costing, and this is the bank that's the old Valley State building, but that building cost $12,000 to build. Its handsome architectural sign located on one of the best business corners of the town. And then the First National Bank was located in the opposite corner in the Warren Block. And it carries a government deposit and also a Federal Reserve institution. So banks, the national banks, have their own currency. So I'll leave these up here if you're interested, you can take a peek. But this is a $20 bill from the Rock Valley, First National Bank of Rock Valley. And the bank needed cash, they just order it from the reserve, they'd ship it in and put their name on it. So it's kind of fun. This is a little older bill. This one's a $10 bill, 1919, 18. So again, they're out there. This one's in a piano and sibling. They found it all folded up. So it's just weird where I get the stuff. But both of the banks back then are largely owned by local or county stockholders, which is ironic also as we have two banks in Rock Valley and both are owned pretty much locally. So again, there's a lot of similarities between mid-1916 and now. So it's people, you say people change, but yeah, I don't think they really do.
There's lots. We could talk for
No, I could not. I'll hit sand and gravel, and then we'll ask for questions here. A steady growing business for Rock Valley is found in the shipments of concrete, gravel, and plastering sand, the manufacture of cement blocks and tiling. The Rock Valley Sand and Gravel Company now operates 3 different loadouts, employs 8 to 10 men. This material is the best in the state. So and you'll look at some of the buildings in Rock Valley. There's soft brick and there's hard brick. It just kind of depends. This is a soft brick building. The Warren building is a soft brick building, and that was from the local quarries. Foppy built over there, and he got a little in trouble because he didn't buy his brick locally. He went to Sioux City and got hard brick. And if you look close enough, you can kind of tell the difference between a hard brick, because those buildings are over 100 years old, and I don't think the guys put them up ever thought they would be here this long. So, open up to questions.
Well, by the way, the Warren Hotel, they have a really nice dance floor.
Okay.
Big time.
That would be later,
For
probably.
those bachelors and the bevy of teachers.
Couple other, there's a Marshall Huey, was exclusive furniture and undertaking business of the town. Randy Porter's not here tonight, otherwise I give him a little competition in the near future is not likely if anyone in business is complete establishment and workshop. Realize how well this dealer is pleasing, and his customers compares goods and prices with other towns. Mr. Huey is an educated, talented man and a booster for the community, and deserves the prosperity he is enjoying. So that was written in 1916, and it caught me. You read things, and you just read things into them. But this writer said he deserves the prosperity he is enjoying. So I want to leave with a little plug of Rock Valley. So Rock Valley is a place of opportunities. It's always been that. That's our motto. But it's kind of a place of opportunity if you're born and raised here. Don't let a lot of outsiders in here. But the point of that I like to make with this writer that wrote this is that Rock Valley, it's been over the years, if someone starts a business in Rock Valley, and a lot of them have started from other people leaving one place, going to the other, starting a business, we've got that good for you approach. And that's very rare in a small town, where we actually sit back and say, well, good for you. You know, we had 2 drugstores across the town, and yeah, they competed. We have 2 banks in town. We compete, but we're both glad that the other one's doing well. And there's other communities, you don't have to go very far. I'm picking on towns in the north. But they don't do that. You know, they've got the idea that, okay, if Greg started this, they show a jealousy, and they go, that should have been me. I should have done that. That, you know, why did they do that? But we've got this Rock Valley mentality of good for you. You know, I'm glad it's working. That's great, because if it's good for you, it's going to be good for us. You know, and that was back then, so it's kind of neat. Machine shops, Rock Valley is exceptionally well equipped in this line. This is 1916. You know, now we're the capital of machine shops. Mr. P.V. Klein is an expert machinist and does a large business in handling gasoline engines, cream separators. Implement houses. To visit these implement fairs. Bucktabine and Wenia are conveniently located on Main Street, occupying railway ground, which is leased to them. I think that's where the Ford Dykstra motor Wenia. And I have one little piece of information or tidbit from Wenia and Bucktabine and Wenia. Just an old screwdriver. And here it says that they farm implements, buggies, Rock Valley. So, kind of be that. And then, this was what was in an ad. It was in the Farmers Lumber Company. I give them credit, but I might steal it at the bank. This is what we stand for. Home, humble though it may be. School, good enough for all. Church, the one of your choice. Town, not what it is, but what we make it. So, yeah.